right, good morning, everybody. I'll get started. Do introductions. My name is Michelle Graybell. I'm the homeless program supervisor for Middlesex County. I'll go through my list of people. I'll go alphabetically. Bob. Oh, Bob, you're muted.
Sorry. I'm Bob Belvin. I'm a director of the public library here in New Brunswick.
Thanks for joining us, Bob. I'm not sure who's listed as Homeless Trust Fund. You want to introduce yourself?
Maybe that's me. It's Eileen O'Donnell. They asked me to put in the title of the meeting.
Oh, that's weird. Oh, yeah. Welcome, Eileen.
Yeah. So Eileen O'Donnell, Executive Director of Coming Home of Middlesex County, Inc.
Thanks, Eileen. Megan?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Megan Davey, Department Head of Community Services for the county.
What are you, Megan? Melissa?
Good morning, Melissa Lewis. I'm the Director for the County Office of Human Services.
Okay, Taina?
Good morning, Resource Navigator for the YMCA in Perth Amboy.
Zena?
Zena Sutton, Director of the COC and ACV program for Edison Housing Authority.
All right, and if anybody else joins us, we will let them introduce themselves when they arrive. So I want to thank everybody who was able to go through the applications, review them, and send me the scoring sheets. I know for a lot of us, it was the first time scoring applications, specifically for everybody, it was the first time scoring these applications. And going forward, there's some questions that were brought up from agencies that were applying that we can adjust the application or the scoring tool going forward. But for now, I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see this okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so we had a few agencies respond. So Catholic Charities, Mission First, Reformed Church of Highland Park, Shiloh, Town Clock, CDC, United Way, and Women Aware. Out of all these applications, the top three were Mission First, Catholic Charities, and Town Clock. Did anybody want me to pull up their specific applications, or did you have questions about any of the applications that came in before I talk about dollars? I know I sent them to everybody, so everybody did have a chance to look at them. Since there were a few, I didn't want everybody to sit here for 2 hours looking through applications. I know that can be daunting. Was there anyone that had questions about any specific application?
I didn't send in mine, but I guess looking at this, I was basically in agreement with these.
With that scoring?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, everybody, it's pretty much the average, but everybody really scored those three as the top three. Shiloh did come in at the lowest, just based off some of the way their application was worded and their funding, their budget tool. So they were on the lower end, and when I send out notifications, I can let them know. I'll let everybody know why they scored the way that they did. But with the dollar amount that we have, because we do have, I spoke with finance, we have $800,000 after we fund Coming Home and VHAP with their balance. This dollar amount is what we have to fund VHAP to bring them up to their full funding amount. After that, there's $612,444. We could, if everybody is okay with that, fund Mission First, Town Clock, and Catholic Charities and still leave a balance in the fund of $277,205. If we think we should leave more in that fund for other things that may come up, we can not fund Catholic Charities or fund them at a lesser amount. They said in their application, if they were funded for a lesser than full amount, that they would just cut back on the number of individuals they serve. Does anybody have any thoughts about that?
I don't know that we need to not fund them at the full level, but the only thing I did note it, I just didn't want to be duplicative of things that we fund. And there was just like 12,000 in the Catholic Charities that was all like housing navigation and housing placement liaison stuff that we're funding through their other program, right? Our other program. So if you wanted to cut them at all, I would only cut that because it's really cool. Most of it is rental assistance, direct, direct to client dollars.
Anybody else?
It seems to make, I mean, just correct me if I'm wrong. We are not required to spend the entire balance.
No, and I wouldn't spend the entire balance because there are other things throughout the year that we use the homeless trust fund to offset costs or to fund for different activities within the county. So I wouldn't spend the whole balance. I I mean, I think I feel comfortable leaving that between $200,000 and $300,000, knowing that money will continue to come into the account. If I was just saying, if we wanted to leave closer to that $300,000 versus the 277, we could certainly do that and reduce Catholic Charities funding, or we can fund them at the full amount. Like Eileen said, there is roughly $12,000 in there that is used for housing navigation. We could deduct that, we could leave that.
Okay, how much comes in 1 year?
It's not a set amount. It varies based off of the documentation. So hold on one second. I can tell you how much came in this past year. Give me 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing just for a minute, just so I can pull up screens and not have to make everybody nauseous by bouncing back and forth.
The money that, this is Melissa Lewis, the money that comes in to the fund is based on fees that are tied to documentation that comes through the county clerk's office.
Right.
So like if it's $5, so $3 of the $5 fee goes specifically into the general homeless trust fund piece, and then $2 goes into the Code Blue bucket. It has to specifically be used for Code Blue services. So out of that, so that 3/5 is what Michelle will be able to show you comes in for the year. And that's varied, it varies the same way, with the economy. There's some years where we get a lot comes in, and then other years where it's very slow. So it depends on the real estate transactions.
So from June of last year to June of this year, there was $260,000 roughly that went in just for the homelessness trust fund. So that is that $3 that Melissa was just talking about. But like she said, that varies year to year. So that's why when we did these applications, we said to the agencies, you need to seek out other funding if this is a new program, if you're going to be hiring people. There's no guarantee that this funding will exist
Right.
a year from now, just because we don't know what the account balance will be a year from now.
So, assuming that, that next year, we have, and I'm just going to name a number, $253,000 comes in, making around $500,000 available. And assuming Coming Home and VHAP would get that again, we're talking about, about 300,000 being available next year, which would, yeah, okay. I'm just.
So I think I get what you're saying. You're saying
long
if
term.
this dollar amount next year is only $500,000, and we deduct the money for coming home and the money for VHAP, which this dollar amount will change based off of the usage of the veterans program.
Mhm.
So the money down here that we would have to work with next year, if that's only $300,000, we can opt to not do applications next year.
Mhm.
So that way we're not then going through this whole process to say, not fund and not pick a project to fund.
Right.
Because we don't want to then spend the whole balance of the account. Is that what you're asking?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look at it as a longer term. If so the $800,000 balance was built up over roughly 3 years or 4 years.
Over the last several years, yes.
Yeah.
It's been built up, and like money comes out of it for coming home for VAP and for other activities as well.
Okay. No, okay. I don't have a problem with doing what is proposed here. I was just trying to look ahead.
Yeah, so next year, one of the things that we did tell all the agencies when they were applying was this funding is not guaranteed next year. So most of the projects, there was only, I believe, one or two that were looking to hire specific staff for the project. But most of the projects are just expanding on existing, well, like they're expanding on existing activities within their agencies.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just looking to serve more individuals for the work they're already doing. And then
Yeah,
next year, if they
that's
don't
good
get the
point.
funding,
Yeah.
they would just pull back on their services
That's a
to
good point.
their current run.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
that's a good point, Michelle. Yeah. So, so you're not risking somebody like getting fired after a year. But,
Exactly.
is there a way? I mean, I thought both the Reformed Church and United Way, are valuable projects. I mean, just like Catholic Charities, Reformed Church is proposing to spend a lot of that on direct services to client with, security deposit and rent. And United Way, though it gets a lot of funding from other places, including United Ways, but I really like their emphasis on their financial center, because that's something that I know that my case managers miss, to have. I didn't know they did that actually. So I think that's something that could be encouraged. I'm just wondering, is there any way, but they're only 88% down there, right? And so Reformed Church shows 86. So, so if we can partially fund, does that make sense, or is that not
And
helpful to them?
I
Yeah.
I want to double check because I don't remember if either one of those was one of the agencies that was looking to hire somebody.
I think, yeah, I don't think Reformed Church was hiring some, well, maybe they
Yeah.
were. There was personnel, one and 0.8 for FTE they were going to hire. I don't know what a 0.8 FTE is, but yeah. Yeah, so they were actually, Reformed Church was hiring, but there was also a lot of money that they were using for, 125,000 they were using for support for direct services, security deposit, rent, and, I can't read my own notes, what the other 25,000 was for.
So I mean, we could discuss, going against the scoring ranking, and we could say, to fill gaps and needs.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any thoughts about that?
I mean, I think you have a scoring tool. I think you put out the areas the priority areas, and these proposals identified priority areas that they were going on, and they were scored by the committee. So I would caution against going against the scoring and the ranking.
It's
I don't
not,
think that's a
I'm not
good look
suggesting
for the
don't,
committee.
yeah, I'm not suggesting going against the scoring and the ranking, but follow the scoring and the ranking. But is it all or nothing is the question.
Well, it would have to, in order to fund Reformed Church, we would have to fund United Way, which means that we would then lessen the funding for all three projects. because we can't fund all 3 projects and leave any sort of balance.
Right. But so again, question is it all or nothing?
I mean, I don't know how we would,
Parse it out. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Because you're looking at $700,000 of additional funding,
hmm
because you would have to fund 3 additional programs.
And they're seeking the cost for their full program. So it's not,
True,
like how
true.
some of them, the total
Yeah.
project, they're looking for a portion of it. They're looking to
Yeah.
fund an entire project.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You're right.
I mean, we can't, I would say we stick with the scoring. If we want to discuss that $12,000 for Catholic Charities, we can, but that $12,000 isn't going to give us funding for another project.
Right, but I wouldn't fund that because it's funding everything that we're funding through the housing support team. That 12,000 in their budget specifically says for
Yeah, but
housing navigation and
it
landlord
says
liaison.
but Eileen, that's you're making an assumption that they don't have additional staff that they're putting in there based on something you know from another proposal. So I don't know that that's a fair statement,
I don't understand your point.
because they're putting in, I mean, they might be putting staff in there that's working specifically with housing navigation and some of those roles outside of the other program that they get.
I know, but why would we do that? Why would
I mean,
we fund that?
we could ask for
You can ask them.
clarification.
Yeah.
I can talk to Catherine and ask for clarification on that. And
I would ask for the clarification before making the assumption that it's the same thing.
okay, so how about, can we all agree that I'll reach out to Catholic Charities, I will talk to Catherine, I will ask about the $12,000 if it's the same thing or if it's or if it's different, and then we can fund according that way. I'll send an email out, bring it back to the group for final approval.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we're not giving them an opportunity to change their application. I mean, it clearly says in the budget that it's for housing navigation and landlord liaison work, right? So you can say,
Yeah,
what
you're
did
going
you
to ask
mean
them
by
to clarify what that work
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
They're not changing their application.
Yeah,
You're
they're not
asking them to
changing
clarify
anything.
what that charge is for, what these people will be doing.
Right. Okay, but my point is, it seems pretty clear what it is, and if we're already funding that for the community, that everybody this is how we're going to do housing navigation and landlord liaison placement, why would you give them another person?
The Ware proposal also talked about
I
housing
know, and that's what I
navigation.
know,
So
and I
you
noted that as well.
Right, but
that
I mean, what I'm saying is you have people in agencies that are currently doing that work and will probably be the people that are going to be working with the other funded program, but it doesn't mean that they're not still doing that work. So I think that's why you just need them to identify how that is different than their other funded program. That's all.
Okay, but I mean, every case manager at this point, Melissa, is doing that work because there isn't a housing support team. That's why we created the housing support team.
Right, but what I'm saying, Eileen, is that they're still going to continue to be doing that work in some way, shape, or form. It's not like they're just gonna be like, okay, I'm done. It all goes to this other program. There's still responsibilities of them that are in there. I just think you need to have the agency clarify it. That's all. I don't think we can assume to know what they're doing. We need the agency to tell us what it is.
All right, so I'll reach out to Catherine and I will ask her to clarify that. And then I will send an email out to everybody regarding their budget, but we all are in agreement of Mission First Town Clock being fully funded for their dollar amounts, and then Catholic Charities being funded with or without that $12,000.
Yep, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Did anybody have any other questions, any other comments about any of these projects, any of the other projects, anything about the application, the scoring tool, just so that way we can I can start making any adjustments or notes for myself for going forward.
We can send them to you as we get the time to write them up, like not about these applications, but about the scoring tool,
Yeah.
Michelle? Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because like we have time. So, if you want to set a time with me one-on-one to go through it and talk about it, I'm more than happy to do that.
Okay.
If you want to read through it, make notes, send them to me, and then I'll pull everything together and make adjustments for next year and beyond.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
All right, so I will reach out to Catholic Charities, get that clarification. I'll send an email out to the group with the information I get from them, dollar amounts. As long as I get an email back from everybody, an approval, we'll move forward. And then I will start working on agreements and get everything set up for everybody in DocuSign.
Great.
All right, and so our next meeting is technically Homeless Persons Memorial Day. So we won't be meeting on Teams, but if everybody's able to make it, it's Saturday, December 21st. I'm still working out the details of location and time. So once I have all the information, I will share that with you. And I hope to see you all there. And I will reach out once I have the information from Catholic Charities. Is there anything else anybody wanted to discuss, had questions about before we part ways? Painless, right? Fairly
Sounds like a
painless.
plan. Thank you, Michelle.
Okay.
All right,
Take
thanks
care.
everybody. Have a great
Great.
day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
day.
Bye-bye.